When I first saw this one, I wanted to see it again. And in seeing this for this review, I still want to watch it again. This is a masterclass. Out of all the Digimon movies I've reviewed thus far, this one is hands down my favorite. This is then followed by Final Evolution, Future, and Coexistence.
This movie takes place 2 years after Tai and Matt lost their Digimon, 2012. Instead of an aurora, a giant Digi-egg appears on top of Tokyo Tower.
It seems pretty significant to mention this, but the very beginning piece of The Last Evolution is the same beginning piece of O2 Beginning.
All throughout the world is a message. May everyone have a Digimon partner.
We then bounce around to all the O2 digidestined.
Kari is in training to become a teacher. Cody is keeping up with his kendo practice. Yoli is still traveling, and it's hard to say where this time. TK is still working on his first novel. Ken is still shy and into his studies, yet the ladies are all over him. As for Davis, we saw at the end of Final Evolution, he is an apprentice at a ramen bar, still an apprentice under the same master. All the Digidestined meet up to see how Davis is doing in the art of ramen. In the corner is a TV talking about the egg and the mysterious message.
Turns out it's been up there for a week, and as of yet, not a whole lot has happened until a young man is seen climbing Tokyo Tower to reach it.
Upon further inspection, they find this young man has a digivice. As he gets to the top, he loses his footing and starts to fall. He is saved by Stingmon, who brings him to the others. On the ground, he tells them he didn't want to be saved. This is his battle, and he doesn't want anyone else to get involved. Davis jumps in, saying he's a digidestined, and by definition, they're already involved.
The question then goes around as to where his Digimon is. He responds, he doesn't have one because he killed him. He also adds that a partnership between humans and Digimon is something that should have never happened.
He attempts to walk away when Yoli sends Hakmon after him. The mysterious man mocks this, saying Hakmon is a slave to Yoli. He continues to walk away when Hakmon tries to stop him. In the process, his eye patch falls off, revealing the eye of a Digimon.
It's just the opening 10 minutes of this movie. Already, there is so many questions going on. Who is this character? How do you kill a Digimon? And not from like a moral standpoint, but like, how? They're impregnable to conventional weapons, and only another Digimon has been shown to actually kill a Digimon. Could it be possible that he potentially fused with this Digimon and that's why his eye is different? And on top of all that, what is the connection to the egg?
The police arrive before any of these questions can be answered. Some distance at a nearby temple, they want some answers. All that is given is that his name is Louis, which is spelled in a way I wouldn't have thought. And the egg is probably his Digimon coming back to him. That's all Davis needs to know, and he says he will take him there. Ken goes along with this to form Paildramon. They fly to the egg when the trio fall in. Inside is the past. We see a very young Tai and Kari when Louis stops dead in his tracks.
Ahead is a small boy that Louis recognizes immediately. It's himself. And the younger self is struggling to keep up with his mother.
Once home, he pops in to say hi to his dad. What his condition is very unclear, but it's obvious that it's pretty serious. Louis' mother comes in screaming at him, telling him that any wrong move would kill his father. She doesn't have the patience to deal with this, and tells him to just sit on the couch and watch some TV until dinner is ready. Out of fear, he does that exclusively. When his mother tells him dinner is ready, he pauses, petrified. He wets the couch. Once again she screams at him, wondering who told him to wait there. She strips him down to his underwear to clean everything up.
I don't claim to be a cinephile by any stretch of the imagination, but this right here feels like a masterclass in visual storytelling. We've already established that the mother is easily drawn to anger. especially towards Louis. And only through visuals do we see he has been beaten. And odds are it must be pretty recently, too, as otherwise those would have healed up.
What we do see is him being banished to the porch until she cleans this up.
It's important to note that it's February 29th of 1996, and it is quite cold out there.
He tries begging, but it doesn't work, so he cries. He is 4 years old that day, and plans of a time when he can grow up, where he will be able to have friends that will love and protect him. At seeing this, Davis lashes out, wanting to give Louis's mother a piece of his mind. Ken stops him, though, as they don't know how this is going to affect the time stream. Just then, a Digi-Egg rolls up and hatches. Adult Louis attempts to stop this exchange when everybody finds themselves falling. They are caught once again and brought back to the area they were before. Davis, Ken, and Louis are astonished to hear that they phased through the egg rather than stayed in it for several hours. The police find them again when they retreat to the computer club. They piece together what they know so far until they come to the last mystery, Louis' involvement. It is here that Louis tells the story.
Digimon is Ukamon, and he has the ability to grant wishes. And this gets the O2 cast thinking about where in the world Ukamon is getting this power. Kari even theorizes that it could have been from homeostasis. Once again, knowing the reception I heard later on the Tri-series, I love the idea that it's still canon and they're not trying to sweep it under the rug. But at the same time, I find it weird that they find the idea of a celestial Digimon to be out of the realm of possibility, even though they all met a Zulogmon, one of the 4 celestial Digimon of the digital world. For me personally, I'd like to think that perhaps the power to grant wishes is in Ukamon's heart, because it really zooms in on that weird red orb that is in his chest.
His wish was to have friends that loved and cared for him.
Obviously, he was not getting that love from his parents.
On the porch, Ukamon says he will be his friend forever. In learning it's his birthday, he makes him a cake out of snow, and inside is his first present, a Digivice. Then sings Louis happy birthday. When the mother is irate with all the noise, she starts screaming at Louis, saying he can't do anything right.
All of a sudden, she changes her tune. Mother realizes that it must be cold out there and invites him to come inside. Louis at first is very leery of this, as this is the first time he's ever experienced this kind of behavior from his mother. Then worries about pushing the envelope a little bit and asking if Ukamon can come inside, to which the mother is like, sure, come on in. In fact, let me clean you up a little bit. You must be freezing out there. From there, Louis' life did a complete 180, and all of a sudden things started going a lot better.
Louis' dad recovers, Ukamon protects him from bullies at school, and he becomes happy. There is a pause in the story, where Davis is happy to hear things turned out all right. The others, though, piece together that there is more to this. For his 8th birthday, Ukamon is disappointed the friends he got were busy that evening. However, Louis' parents are there, some of the neighborhood kids. Ukamon says he will make it up to him on his 12th birthday. Sometime later, Louis is watching a news story of when Diaboromon comes back the 2nd time.
I have yet to see this movie, unfortunately. I do know that it was a TV special at one point, but I don't know if it was ever given a physical release. Which, as you can tell, I am a huge fan of physical media. I don't have to worry about a streaming service pulling the plug on it after a while. I just own it, and as long as the player works and the disc works, I'm good to go. Still, though, it would be interesting, not only to get, say, a Blu-ray of that, but what if maybe we were to get a more faithful dub of the first 3 Digimon movies, rather than just the chopped up amalgamation of what was just known as the Digimon movie.
Ukamon states that Louis' friends are doing battle with Diaboromon. He believes kids with loving Digimon partners will create the perfect friends for Louis. He even goes far as to say the love the Digimon have for their partners is so strong that they would lay down their own lives for their partner.
Louis is understandably a little shook up in hearing this news. This is not what he wished for whatsoever. There was nothing that could prepare him for the next shock about to come. The dad comes home from work when the mother is about to embrace him when they both collapse in the front hallway.
Louis goes to see them to find they are dead. That is until Ukaman pumps them full of some sort of serum.
They are able to stand up on their own, but this heavily implies that Ukaman basically robbed them of their consciousness.
They resume their usual demeanor, with Ukaman pulling the strings. Seeing this, as well as the friends of his, he picks up a baseball bat.
Now, when I first saw this, I thought Louis was gonna beat Ukaman to death with this bat, but what actually happens, I think, is worse than that outcome.
Louis knows the Digivice connects him with Ukaman. He attempts to sever that connection by destroying the Digivice. In doing so, a chunk of it destroys Louis' right eye. Ukaman is trying to figure out what to do when he gives Louis his eye. Blood is not seen often in Digimon. When I saw Mr. Nishijima at the end of Future, I thought they were really pushing the envelope. This time, I think they went to a whole nother post office.
Upon seeing this, Louis is disturbed and lashes out against Ukaman. All throughout this time, Ukaman claimed that he wanted to make Louis happy. But there is no happiness to be found in this circumstance whatsoever. His parents are dead, and he unwillingly sent a whole bunch of innocent Digimon as well as humans to potentially be killed. And on top of that, now he is scarred with the eye of the very being that did this to him.
Now that Ukaman's primary purpose is gone, he melts in probably the most gruesome way possible. From there, Louis moved in with some relatives and now lives alone. Kari feels sorry for Ukaman.
Louis, though, has no sympathy for the Digimon that killed his parents.
Before anything else can happen, the clock strikes 12 and the egg hatches. All throughout the area is Ukaman singing Happy Birthday to Louis while creating digi-eggs for everyone. The digidestined know that Ukaman must be stopped, as such a thing would create total chaos.
The first thing I immediately thought of is, what if an oppressive regime got a hold of Digimon? They would be used as a weapon to be able to keep all the oppressed peoples in line. However, it could be possible that the oppressed peoples could also use their Digimon to rise up against that oppressive regime. But probably the more obvious one the Digidestined thought of first was the idea that there's probably bound to be a lot of people that just don't want Digimon, and so they'll just get abandoned. Or maybe there'll be others that'll just take advantage of them and use them for slave labor. And even going on top of that, perhaps they're going to be bought and sold like animals. But even worse than that is, imagine if it was the humans that became the oppressor, and then there would be a war from the Digimon to be able to rise up against it. Once again, these are just a lot of theories, but I think that very much paints the reason why everybody getting a Digimon would not be a good thing.
There's a pause before the attack, as they wonder if this will sever the connection between the Digimon and the Digidestined. Even if that does happen, the fate of the world is at stake. Davis has another option, though. Have Louis talk to Ukaman. Davis puts a new perspective on this, saying he had a one-sided relationship, and even then, how much did they really know about each other? Louis goes for it, with Imperial Dramon taking him there.
Much like the coordinated attack in the last evolution, they very much learned how to be able to do it, so there's constant communication between all parties. The idea is that Louis is to go Ukaman to try negotiations, and then if that fails, all the Digimon are just going to give everything they got to defeat Ukaman.
Louis keeps having doubts, as he feels like Ukaman just won't listen. He overcomes this, and goes back to the past. Louis stops his mother, saying, "I know it must be hard. I'm going through the same thing, but listen to Louis.
Because, after all, you lost your parents.
She stops, sees Louis struggling behind when she goes back to him.
While this certainly helps with the idea of having a happy ending, I'm not buying it. Given what we've seen of the mother so far, honestly, it just seems more like she would slap adult Louis across the face saying, "How dare you tell me how to raise my kid? You have no right to this." I highly doubt the idea that such an abusive parent would all of a sudden just turn to a loving parent because they just needed a little empathy. Going from the impression I get, it very much feels like she's under the assumption that if Louis actually did love her, then he would be the perfect robot. He would do all the commands that she issued to him without question and perfectly, and would even anticipate when the code needs to change, because obviously what she said and what she means are two very different things.
Louis then talks with Ukuman, to which they finally understand each other. Both want a chance to start over with a mutual friendship. Unfortunately, Ukuman will have to be killed for this to occur. After a brilliant battle, Ukuman is defeated.
What happens next, I'm honestly still trying to figure out. So in this timeline, Louis makes no wishes. So all the Digivices all of a sudden start to fade away. However, it's not really needed anymore, as the bond that the Digidestined have created with their Digimon is so strong that they just don't need the Digivices to be able to keep everything together. What feels very off to me is the idea that Louis doesn't have his right eye anymore. So I get the idea that he didn't wish that Ukuman was to give him his eye. But at the same time, if he didn't make any wishes, he shouldn't have gotten to that point where he took the bat to the Digivice, thus losing that eye in the first place. Or maybe it's more the idea that when he got back to the present, he just wanted to undo all the wishes that he had made. In fact, that brings up another question. Are Louis' parents alive in this timeline, or are they still dead?
Though Ukuman does grant one wish, a chance to start over. With the day saved, Davis starts a snowball fight. You may even see some romance blowing between Yoli and Ken. It would seem that Ukuman finally granted Louis' first wish, to have friends that loved and cared for him. Credits in this one are different, as they are not only written in kanji.
At least I think it's kanji. I'm a white gaijin. Do I look like I would know the difference between hatakana, katakana, and kanji?
But there are no pictures or footage to go along with the credits like the other movies. There is an after-credits sequence, though. Louis' egg hatches.
This one took me by surprise in many different ways. First off is the movie existing. I do remember hearing after the Try series ended that there was going to be a new series in the works. After several years of Last Evolution and not hearing anything, I kind of figured it wasn't going any further. But then here it is. It just randomly shows up. It very much feels like the beginning of a greater story. However, I do like the idea that it's at least self-contained enough that if the story isn't finished, at least you can be left with a satisfactory ending. What also surprised me about this movie was the character of Louis. Just seeing his design, I'm just kind of like, ugh, this guy looks like the literal definition of anime edgelord. I mean, you got like the high collar, you got the one eye, you got the light hair, you got the gray eyes, and he even speaks just like he's the Dark Knight or maybe some sort of Wolverine interpretation. Once I knew his backstory, I felt empathy. I won't really go too far in the details, but I didn't have a good childhood either. It wasn't nearly as bad as what Louis had to go through, but I can very much relate to this struggle. Even more than that is the idea of him taking advantage of Ukuman. He was not used to the idea of getting unconditional love and friendship. Something that he just wasn't getting from his parents, and this is something I can relate to as well. So I would have taken advantage of Ukamon just the same way. This person's goal was to just make you happy. And I think at the end of it, it makes sense that Louis didn't realize that it was a lopsided relationship, that he was just only taking advantage of Ukamon, but at the end of the day, he didn't know anything about Ukamon, and Ukamon knew nothing about Louis. On a personal level, I had no idea that a Digimon movie would, in ways, help me fight off some inner demons. Maybe that's one of the reasons that I love this movie so much, is not only is it something I can relate to, but it was something that was, well, I feel, pardon the phrase, eye-opening. Probably the other thing I relate to with Louis is when they first introduced the character, he is picked up and dropped off in the woods. It's just like, I didn't ask for your help. You're at something alone long enough, you get used to having to fight your own battles, that you never really realize that perhaps things would get easier if you were able to share your struggles with somebody else. And that's very much what the conclusion was of this movie, is he was able to break down the barriers. He was able to reveal a very sensitive part of his life to complete strangers. And he even got to a point where he was able to trust them enough to help them with his battle. In fact, even when it gets to the end, he's still having doubts as to saying, what's the point in even trying? This is my fault. Ukamon will not listen to me, but he is able to work past that. So yeah, like I've said, some of the Digimon movies I've reviewed so far can get emotional, but this one was emotional for a very different reason. Just the idea that I saw a lot of myself in this character of Louis. And while I didn't go through his exact experiences, it's something I can very much relate to. But I feel like I'm kind of throwing a review of my life into a review of this movie. But regardless, though, this was a really good movie, and I highly recommend it. And, well, depending on when I get this video uploaded, this will be the end of what I'm dubbing Digimon Pride Month. And if I don't get this uploaded until September, well, I want to thank you for sitting through this entire series. It was a bit of an education. And I do like the idea that in watching all these movies, I started to see a bit of a connecting thread with them. The idea that Mako and Meikumon were in Last Evolution, that there was a reference to homeostasis in this one, well as just little story beats that I might have missed when I was watching the Tri-Series again. So that is all I've got. But I will definitely say, after seeing this masterpiece, I want to see what's next. Perhaps you will join me then. Till next time, be yourself, no matter who that is.